woman who is financially independent in the East to give up her security, to go back to this traditional view of being sort of a wife, a carer not only to the kids, her parents, in-laws, and her husband. It's an incredible double day for them. So the cost for that is, they're saying, well, why would I give that? Why would I do that? Why would I go back into that? And also the other thing is that as they become more higher educated, the pool of men at the top is not. They do, and then you have that situation of people who go back to, let's say, their village, if let's say they're migrant workers, they come back. They actually the divorce rate is going up too because they can't associate with their spouse.
Would you think is it fair to say that the millennial woman is a kind of global citizen? She doesn't just define herself just by her home country and her home culture. She's willing to travel for work. She's willing to sort of do anything to get ahead. I mean, you're all great examples because none of you were necessarily born and raised here, but you've made your career here. So maybe you could. I mean, would you like to elaborate on that?
My feeling is like everybody are getting like more and more experience, as we said before. So it's like all of us are getting like quite international lifestyles. Also, I guess that this is why we don't want to commit and get like a flat. We prefer to rent because we don't know if next year we'll go abroad. And at the same time, I think we just go like the 30s or like the new 20s. All of us try to keep enjoying life, and if you just start getting like a family, you just start feeling like no more traveling. So I think it's both
that's a good point.
Both women and men, we are just trying to keep enjoying life.
Do you think you enjoy life more than we do?
I think we want a work-life balance. A lot of people will clock off at 5, and and then they want that. And some people will forego a really amazing work opportunity that means it's going to infringe on their.
And one of talking about work-life balance, one of the interesting things that I came across is that you don't want the old model for working. I read that a lot of the big kind of companies that normally would go and recruit sort of from top universities and so forth, they were struggling to recruit the best talent, like investment banks and places like that, because they found that the best talent thought, do I really want to be a cog in this massive corporation, or do I want to break out and work in something smaller, more nimble, with a kind of more easier working life, something that will fit well with my life outside of work, that you're not just about work, you want a company that perhaps fits your value system, and you also want something that gives you that flexibility in your life. So would you say that's true? That's what you're looking for when you eventually graduate? What's your perfect employer then?
I suppose, I would really want to travel, and I think that a lot of millennials expect the opportunity to be able to travel if they're, having sort of like higher up in their career. I think principle is a big thing. I think a lot of, older generations are sort of like, I'll work 9 to 5 and then like, as long as I'm making the bucks, like, I don't mind what I'm doing. But I think that the millennial generation is so invested in like the experience of the career.
Yeah, because it's not about just one corporation for even 10 years. Because if you look at all the things you've done, you've got lots of different things going on. Same with you. That fluidity. I mean, what's the appeal there? Do you think?
I also again, I'm not quite sure if that's so much a choice. That's something that just happened to us. I mean, when my first job was in 2008 when everything collapsed. And nobody got a permanent contract. Everybody had a short-term contract. Like 3 months, 6 months, and then you had to find another job. You had to keep going. And there was not such a thing as natural promotion. Like, you're with the company for a certain amount of time and then you get promoted. Because there was nowhere to go. So in a way, we were forced to change that because it wasn't there anymore.
And you've got to be more adaptable.
Yes, absolutely. And you kind of have to make it work for yourself. If you don't have much choice in a certain situation, you need to try to make the best out of it, I suppose. And so therefore you are hopping from job to
So the economics has really driven a lot of the dynamics that we're seeing.
Yeah, I also graduated in 2008, and I wanted to go to banking at the time, and that didn't work out. But interesting enough, like at that point, there was just no jobs, and it was just so competitive, and the pool of people who are applying for the jobs that you're going for, it's now smaller, number of people they're accepting. It was quite difficult, and so yes, I had to just kind of slot into a job that I had no, just to make rent and that type of thing. But eventually, actually, I went into a corporate job, which I thought is what, that was my goal, that's what I wanted to do. And what it ended up happening is I ended up burning out a bit because I couldn't do work-life balance. I didn't feel like I was making any meaningful contribution whatsoever. I was like a small person in a big hog of things, and there's just no creativity whatsoever. And like that's actually kind of why I burnt out and went to drama school.
Well, much happier.
And what I do now is fantastic. Like I work remotely, I have a small team, we're all connected, and it's something creative, so I absolutely love what I'm doing.
Honestly, I don't really agree. I mean, I don't think it's only our generation. Also because our parents educated us like in the growth, and I mean, to all of us, I guess our parents always tell you like, nowadays just do whatever you want, do something that you really enjoy. Isn't like our grandparents that used to tell our parents like, do something to get money, to pay the house. So I guess like in this case we're also a consequence of the previous generation who gave us the chance of really choosing and change our values.
And we're going to move on now to third question, which is a bit provocative because the oldies among us might say, well, every young generation, they think they're the mold breakers, they think they're going to change the world, and 60s they thought it, when during the 80s we thought it, and so what's different about this lot, the millennials? Isn't it just sort of turning of the wheel, the new cycle? And I suppose one possible answer to that is the big difference this time is you guys grew up with the internet, and that really was, that really did transform everything. So can you sort of elaborate on that, on whether you agree that you are truly different, and if so, why?
I think the difference is in that we are not so much the mold breaker, the breakers. The mold was broken for us. We were taught about a certain society or a certain way of life in school, about what to expect in careers. But by the time we got there, it completely collapsed. So I don't think we are so much fighting against something. We're just trying to make something out of the rubble. In a way, of all that is left. I think the difference is that the only thing that we can still control in this situation is ourselves and our own values, and we change our values to move away from money as a measurement of success, for example. We try to find experiences, we try to find the things that we ourselves can control.
And Catherine, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think to some extent. Although, I don't know, I feel like every generation does break the mold slightly. I don't know, like every generation is different, and every generation feels like they're making progress and they're making change. And I think they are right, change is happening, it's just kind of slow throughout several
So
decades.
you're building on the previous generation.
Yeah, I think so. But I think, social media is definitely a huge catalyst in this. Especially because nowadays companies have to be so much more visible about their information. Nothing's sort of secret anymore. Everything's out of the open. So, consumers know what they're getting. And whenever something illegal happens or whatever, it can blow up on social media and everything has repercussions.
So this transparency gives you power.
Yeah, I think so. It gives power to the people.
Yes.
I think that one of the biggest things of this generation is how we communicate. We have multiple platforms now, social media, which allows us to communicate with everybody, or we also have just a lot of apps and things that let us communicate on an individual level. And also, you can now communicate without using words. You can use emoticons and picture, like Instagram, things like that. Like, there's always something that's kind of like telling a story. And also just creating a massive connectedness. actually one thing I read about was actually Asian millennial mothers. And basically, because my mom's a driver mom, she pushed me.
That's why I'm here.
That's why I'm here. And basically, there's actually this thing that the Asian millennial moms now, that it's most likely not to become these tiger mothers, because it's such a tremendous amount of pressure on the mothers to just be in charge of their child's success. But now, a lot of these, like in South Korea, everybody's connected, whether through the mobiles or anything, and they're sharing stories, and they're being supportive of each other, and they're getting more of a fostering community. And actually, one interesting thing I just want to say is the reason why my parents moved from Korea to Canada is because they didn't want us, the children, to grow up having that tremendous amount of pressure of extracurricular activities. And, I did obviously grow up, still have that tiger momness, but it wasn't as extreme as my cousin now. She has to put all her kids in extracurriculars, because if not, then they have no one to play with, because all the other kids are in extracurricular activities. So it's that's the East.
What about you, Ken?
For me, the biggest difference is before we were the four of us talking, I was saying the same. It's I think our generation just pushed the previous one, because we were talking about WhatsApp and how we will just communicate to our parents, as most of them are abroad. And I think this has been the biggest movement. It is not only us as a generation, but we also made previous one get into the mobile phone communications. Nowadays everybody does Skype with the parents.
So we've all got to get with the program because of you lot.
I guess we just did it, and it has been one of the biggest strengths we have.
Okay. Well, thank you. It's been really interesting, and I'd like to have some time for questions. So I'd like to open it up to the audience, and there is a microphone which Phyllis is going to be taking around. So if any of you have an opinion to express, or you've got a particular question for a panel member, then put your hand up and shout out.
I think I probably will ask a very provocative question. What's the relationship of your millennial generation with your parents?
That's a good question.
What do you think that, as your lives are quite different from, I suppose, the previous generation, how do you deal with the conflicts or basically the relationship with your parents?
Okay. So would anyone like to kick off on that one?
So obviously I grew up from parents who came from Korea, and my parents have they've been fantastic. They've always pushed me to academically exceed, which I have, but at the same time, they want me to be happy, which is kind of nice. And I've moved away from them, and we never really actually had a very, my family's not very touchy-feely people. But there's just this deeper respect that we have for each other and stuff. Although there are some times, now that I'm over this age of marriage, where my mom will just drop in little things where it's just basically, no matter what I do in life, so long as I got a really good husband and his job is he's a good job, good education, she won't worry. I'm just what about those 3 degrees I got? Does that mean anything to you? So there's this conflicts, but at the end of the day, she's I'm not going to be here forever. I just want you to be happy.
What about you?
I stuck to them every day, and I would say it's because of this, because of having the telephone, so we can just keep in touch and have a closer relationship than the relation our parents used to have with our grandparents. You can just have communication every day, and it's easier to keep talking every day. You don't have to get married, move, and then just see them on Sunday when you go for lunch. You can keep telling them about your everyday life.
And then put the phone down.
I think my parents tried really hard to understand what I wanted to do, because also I studied theatre. Until I was 16, I wanted to become a doctor, and then did a curveball to them. And I think until a few years ago, my mom found it really quite hard to understand what it was that I was doing and why I was doing it. But it was also because I was a bit floundering, I suppose, and now I found my feet and I know what I'm doing. she is completely with me. She is following, you know, everything that we're doing on social media with the company and these talks. And I got a WhatsApp message for, you know, good luck today at the talk. So, you know, it's really nice.
And Catherine.
Oh, my mum's right.
I feel like we can double check with Mum.
Can't say anything too bad. I think the main difference between like my relationship with my mum and her relationship with her mother is I think the power dynamic.
Yeah.
Because I mean, as well as being a second generation immigrant, and so probably being kind of a bratty child in many respects, I think also because of the rise of technology and social media and things, it's not so much the parents are teaching me how to do everything in my life, but I'm also teaching them how to like use Skype and stuff. So I think it kind of gives an interesting like power dynamic and like I don't know, I feel like maybe we're more equals.
She's not disagreed in public. Okay, so can we have another question? Yes.
Hi, my name is Anna. Thank you for all the speeches, they've been very interesting. So I've got a question. You've mentioned the rise of media and internet, social networks a few times. And I don't know if you agree with me, but sometimes I feel overwhelmed with the amount of information that we receive, even when we don't want it. You know, all these pop-up ads and all these emails, everything. And I find it hard to really like keep and stay fair to my values and to really find meaning in my life. So I would like to know, what do you do to like, you know, really find what it is that makes you happy instead of like just being influenced by all the, you know, like all this media and all that people's opinion and pressure from society, work.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Who would like to kick off with this one? Yes?
Yeah, I would just say, for me, because it can be very overwhelming with all that information out there, it's just to switch it on. As I get older, like the thing that I'm realizing more and more is that, you know, my happiness actually comes from my connection with people, with my friends, my family, so it really is just kind of getting back to just that primary thing.
And not the virtual kind of
circle,
but the real.
It's exhausting. There's just so much to catch up on, and like there's like, even though I'm a millennial, there's like I don't really know how to read. You know, it's just so much out there, but you just gotta kind of bring it back to.
Okay.
I would say the same, just put limits, like working and just use it during working times and then just go back to them when you really need them, but not allowing them coming to you.
So you guys aren't always on the phone, kind of, you're very sort of strict with yourselves about all of that.
I'm definitely
You are?
but also to the point that I do realize that I need to switch off.
Yeah.
So then I put an out of office on my personal email account.
Yeah.
Just also for myself to then go, I don't have to check everything. I'm just not here.
And is that possible, do you think, at your age?
Yeah, I'm sort of always on some sort of device, not gonna lie. But I think that the way to stop being so overwhelmed by it is to realise that you're doing it as a recreational tool. And so, you know, you just gotta like unfollow all of the people or, you know, corporations who are giving you all this like unwanted information, and make sure you have a really intense blacklist and like, you know, just keep everything pared down.
Because everyone feels like a commodity now, you know. Everyone wants a piece of you. People, networks, you know, companies. It's exhausting, like you said, and, you know, to just feel like you're being grabbed at all the time.
I think millennials do have ways around it. Like there are extensions you can get in order to like block ads and block things that contain words that you don't want to see, and like there are just ways to get rid of it. And I think that, I don't know, if you're like less technologically capable, then it can feel very overwhelming because you just like.
So they're just targeting the non-millennials.
I think basically at this point.
Okay. All right. Is there another question? That lady. Oh, sorry. I'll take the lady there and then me. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I guess I can just. I like to. I know it's an individually different thing, but I like to ask you about ethical value of your generation. We live in an incredibly capitalistic world where Uber, Google, Amazon, you name it, Microsoft, everything is taking over so much and making so much money with such discrepancy in people's income. How do you feel about that? I mean, you're in a way, you're also sort of a victim, aren't you? Because you are sort of, part of it. Do you feel that your generation would want to, at some point, have some kind of social revolution and break down these giant corporations, banks that enslave people and all that sort of thing? Or not? Or is that just now something that you think about?
Yes. Yeah. I think that there is a sort of urge in this generation to make big change happen. I think, a lot of people are less, becoming disillusioned with capitalism, I've noticed among my friends. And I think that, maybe it's just my parents, but I feel like if you speak against capitalism, it's sort of like a taboo, especially in America.
And you can see it with Bernie Sanders and Jeremy Corbyn here. It's quite interesting. He's got a lot of young support.
I think for Bernie Sanders, 80% of 18 to 25-year-olds are supporting him. So that's huge, And I think that, change is actually going to happen.
Yeah. And so it's interesting that you're not fixated about how old the agents of change are. You're just focused on that person represents changing the system.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And can you touch on the point that Lynn raised?
Yes, I think we do want to change, but I'm not quite sure that everybody have the answer in a way, apart from moving away from seeing money as the measure of success. Simply as if that is not the most important thing anymore, then the power is not. But that is the only thing I personally see.
But what I'm asking is, because you're all saying how powerful Twitter and Facebook, and you all have voice now, and that can be such a power. I guess what I'm asking is, are you individually actually making that power by boycotting and actually not purchasing or not being part of something? I mean, do you actually make that choice?
Honestly, I think we're already doing it, and I don't think it's boycotting them. It's our generation is quite being supportive with ethics things. You can say, see, H&M is doing now many clothing with